have you guys taught the kids the states of the brain? Have you talked to the kids and talked to your fifth graders and taught them what the survival state and what goes on in the emotional state and what goes on in the executive state? Has that been something that you've used?
I know some of our older grade levels have talked about just knowing where they are and that self-awareness as part of one of their SEL goals, and just thinking about what do you need? Right? What are some things that help you feel safe and feel connected? And the students have really turned it around to take ownership of that. And that's been huge to kind of listen to them say, oh, you know what, and maybe I need a minute. And maybe they don't say like, oh, I'm in this state, but you can see the impact of that conversation of being aware of, okay, I'm elevated and escalated. Here's what I chose. I chose finding a quiet spot to sit, or I chose talking to an adult. And even with some of our kids who we say, hey, remember when you're feeling, rage mode is one of our students that we got, hey, you're in rage mode. What's our plan for rage mode? And they know, and I even heard one of the students before, it's like, hey, I was in rage mode yesterday, but I was able to go to the care room and calm down. And I'm like, yes, you can identify it and see that. And so even if the language for grade level is different, having students be aware of, hey, this is your okay state, this is your not okay state. What's our plan? What got us there, and how do we work our way out of that? It's been huge.
Right. One last little thing that I want to share is when I was the guidance counselor, I did that. I went around, taught the brain states as a tool, so kids could not only identify, but then also really kind of figure out what are the tools that I need to help me get to a higher state.
Right.
And so there's a little girl, and the principal was gone, and I was the stand-in. So we didn't have an assistant.
Right.
I was the stand-in. So I'm the counselor and the principal, and I know some of y'all out there doing that same thing. Like that feels a little like a weird role to juggle. So this little girl out on the playground in a fight, physical fight with another child, draws blood, so it's a big scramble. She comes in to the office where I'm sitting. Somebody else is, helping the little gal that was injured. And so I open my mouth to start with positive intent, right? So I'm just going to start with positive intent. My state's relaxed. And she looks at me like this, and she goes, I am so in the red that if you say a word, ugly stuff is coming out my mouth. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is a girl who typically would get suspended extra days because of the horrific, other things that come after the event.
Add another day. And another day. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so she got paper, she started taking, which was something that in the counseling experience that I had done in her classroom, I had shown them some different strategies. And she's ripping it up, and then she's wadding it into a ball, and then she does it again. Scribbles, rips, wads it up, throws it into the trash. Yeah. And she does that maybe 6-8 times. And then she turns around and looks at me and says, I think I'm ready. And so I start with empathy.
Yeah.
And I say, you were really frustrated. Someone was talking about your mom. And you weren't sure how to ask them to be more respectful. And it was really important to you that they respected your mom, and it felt really disrespectful what happened, and you just couldn't find the words. And the interesting thing is, Jordan, in that situation, I used all the tools that I knew to help her feel safe and connected.
Right.
And she still had to leave the building.
Yes.
Because, it's a, that wasn't in my hands.
Right.
That's a decision that is a policy of the district.
Yes.
But here's the difference. And this is what I think, that when you understand the brain states, it's just so powerful. So I then said to her, what happens in our building if you put your hands on another person in a hurtful way? And she said, you have to go home.
Yeah.
And I said, I know.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yep.
I hate that. And she said, I know, I'm gonna do it different. And I said, I think that we could work on that together.
Right.
And this is the weird thing, like I'm the principal for this minute, but I'm really kind of the counselor.
You're wearing both hats there.
Right?
Yes.
Which is what you do every day.
Yes.
And so I said, I would love to teach you so that you could teach her how to treat your mother with respect, because absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
Your mother deserves that, and so do you.
Yeah.
And she left, and guess what didn't happen? Nobody called the superintendent's office.
Right.
Nobody called the principal and said, my daughter's being disrespected. In fact, the mom came in, when she came in to pick her up, had a conversation, pleasant, and I believe was going to take that child home, and they were going to have a learning experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be punitive. The
Right.
little girl felt heard,
Yes.
felt seen, felt valued, but understood that there is a consequence. And I
Yes.
think that sometimes is the confusing part.
Yes.
When we have this mindset like, okay, but then there's never a consequence.
Correct.
You know, you're
Yes.
in your survival state, you do something crazy. And that is not
Yes,
the
not it.
message that we are sending at all.
Yes.
It is absolutely the delivery
Right.
that is the game changer.
Yep. What do we do with that? We know the policies for wherever you are, but what do you do with the student? What conversations do you have?
Absolutely.
It's huge.